The political commentator John Kavulich. John, do you think this is actually the moment that Donald Trump has decidedly and definitively put himself on the side of Kiev?
No, this is one moment in a series of moments that defines the Russia-Cuba war and defines President Trump's role in it. This is a good day for the Ukrainians. Absolutely no question about it. Not a particularly great day for the European Union and for NATO members, because they're going to be spending their money in a country that they really don't want to spend it in, and that means the United States. So they're giving President Trump another win. But having said all of that, this is a day for Ukraine, that it's a good day, but no one should be under any illusion that the announcement today of 100% potential secondary tariffs that could impact India and China, all the Patriots going into Ukraine, that all of a sudden President Putin is going to say, okay, you've given me 50 days. I'm ready right now.
I'd like to hear your opinion about a question I asked our correspondent in Moscow. And the question is whether you think that the tariffs, the sanctions, the financial penalties, whatever you want to call them, will have a greater effect on Russia than the American weaponry.
It's a great question, because I just spent several weeks in Russia and traveled around Russia. And I've been doing that now for, what is in 4 years of the war. Russia has had an economic resilience, and, every day there is someone that's saying, today it's going to crash, today it's going to crash. It's very much a very slow burn. Inflation is high, and, unemployment and jobs are difficult for some to find and then keep. Prices are high, but the government continues, because of sanctions. You've got a lot of money and a lot of rubles that would have been changed into dollars and moved out of Russia, sitting in Russia, and they're doing things. They're recreating infrastructure, and so there's a lot of activity. You can see apartment buildings being built, and the crews are working 7 days a week. And I asked, why are they working 7 days a week? We've got the money to pay them. So, dismantling, disabling the Russian economy is, we've seen it hasn't happened in 4 years. 18 sanctions packages, or 17 from the EU. We're gearing up for another 18. They've got $320 billion of central bank reserve money that is out of Russia, and Russia still keeps able to do what it wants to do, and it just keeps adapting. And that's the rule of countries under sanctions. They adapt. Very rarely do they collapse.
Do you see any way that Ukraine could actually ever even win this war, or is a truce and some kind of mediated political process the best it can hope for?
I think it's likely to be, what is defined as the frozen conflict, because peace is such a misused word in diplomatic terms, because the Russian government and the Ukrainian government hate each other, and signing a piece of paper isn't going to bring them together and they're singing Kumbaya and all is forgiven. The Russian people, the Ukrainian people aren't happy. The Ukrainian people are really not happy with decisions the Russian people have made and let their government make. So it's more likely we're going to see a frozen type conflict where the real estate is pretty much intact. But this isn't about anyone winning. This is about each country accepting what they don't want, and who's going to accept more of what they don't want. That's how this ends.
As the Republican Party is the one in power, how many of its lawmakers do you think might agree with JD Vance didn't say it recently. He said it even before he became vice president, of course, that he didn't care about what happened to Ukraine.
I think that if this were, if the majority of the members of the Republican Party in the Senate and in the House were invited to the the White House, and President Trump said, okay, this is a yes or no. Do you agree with JD Vance or do you not? My guess is in that environment, which is very much, it'd be like a political prison environment, that they're going to all raise their hand and say, yes, we agree with JD Vance. But in the security of the halls of the U.S. Congress and the House and the Senate, the legislation that Senators Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut are introducing, which potentially allows President Trump to impose 500% sanctions on countries. That's going to, it's already got, I think, 82 or 87 co-sponsors in the Senate of 100, and it'll have a lot of support in the House. So, politically, I think that, Ukraine has a lot of support, but if President Trump decides that he's unhappy with Ukraine, as we saw after the infamous meeting in the White House with President Zelensky, who was the first one to come out and eviscerate President Zelensky? Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. So, politicians are flexible in their anger.
That's an interesting way of putting it, John. Thank you so much indeed, John Kavulich.
Thank you.